Ego stepped forward and threw the pumpkin gourds at Nneka. "Pumpkin girl!" she screamed. Immediately, Nneka slumped to the ground. She turned into a pumpkin and vanished. Ngozi screamed in anguish. Ego stared in shock. She didn't expect that to happen. Deep within the forest where few dared, Ego sat before the Forest Dibia, whose eyes were white like cowries. "Your rival wife has fortified her daughter to always outshine yours," said the Forest Dibia, putting more fear in Ego's heart. He promised to help her if she did as instructed. She was to find the charm Ego used to fortify Nneka, and when she did, she was to take it and cast it at Nneka in a public place. "You must call her the Pumpkin Girl. If not, the intervention won't work." Ego listened with rapt attention. "Then her mother will confess of all her evils." Ego was excited, but there was one problem, though. "Great one. How will I be able to find where Ngozi hid the charms?" The Dibia held up a transparent vial with 2 flies dancing in it. "My flies will show you," said the old man. "Now go and deal with my problem. I mean your problem." As Ego left, the Forest Dibia sniggered deviously. "Finally, the girl will be eliminated and the powers of Igodo will be mine," he roared with evil laughter. Just as the dawn ushered in the day, Ego returned to her hut. She tells Nonye all that the Dibia said. However, to effectively execute their plan, they would need an extra hand. But before then, Ego released the flies from the vial. They flew out of Ego's window and entered straight to Ngozi's hut. Ngozi had just woken up. Nneka had gone to watch the day break as usual. Ngozi looked over shoulder to ensure she was alone, before going to get the pumpkin stalk from where she hid it. Soon it will be time, in 3 days. The spirit warrior had told her to burn it when Nneka turned 21. She would then be free to have a normal life, and calling her the Pumpkin Girl would have no effect. Ngozi couldn't wait. But unknown to her, the flies from the vial, perched on the wall, had seen everything. Later that day, Chuka paid Kamsi a visit to congratulate him for choosing a damsel. Chuka advised the prince to quickly make an announcement, as their custom required of a prince. "Do it quickly, my friend, so that the rest of the maidens will stop hoping for you and begin to notice ordinary men like us," Chuka joked. They both laughed. "That is a good idea, my friend," said Kamsi. "I will make the announcement right away." With that, Kamsi excused himself and went inside the palace. Chuka's smile turned into a deep scowl. Chuka did not have Kamsi's interest at heart. He was working with Ego and Nonye. After hearing how Nneka humiliated him in the farm, Nonye had come to recruit him in their revenge mission against Nneka. He'd eagerly agreed to help. Anything for his pound of flesh. That night, Ngozi reacted to the news of Nneka and the prince with mixed feelings. She'd warned Nneka to stay away from anything that had to do with Ego and Nonye. Now this? "Mother, it just happened. I did everything to stop it, but the Supreme One kept putting him in my path." Ngozi was worried for her. She didn't want any harm to befall Nneka. "Can't the prince wait till 3 days? When you will turn 21? Nneka smiled. "Mother, it's not a marriage ceremony. It's not even a ceremony." "But the whole village will be there," Ngozi complained. Nneka laughed and hugged her mother. "Relax, mother, everything will be fine." The next day in the afternoon, Chuka rushed to Ngozi with some bad news. Nneka has been stung by a snake while gathering herbs. Ngozi panicked and left everything and rushed away with him. Meanwhile, Ego hid behind a nearby hut, ready to take action. With Ngozi gone, Ego dashed into Ngozi's hut. She found the pumpkin gourds where Ngozi had hid them. Thanks to the Forest Dibia's flies, now she'll put a stop to Ngozi and her evil daughter. As the evening drew close, the palace had teemed with guests. Okonkwo and his family were present. So was the king and his family. The king had called the meeting as custom demanded. His son had chosen a damsel and needed to make the announcement publicly. Kamsi then revealed the damsel he'd chosen, Nneka, the daughter of Okonkwo, the rich farmer. Okonkwo beamed with pride. He was happy still. At least the prince still chose one of his daughters. Ego and Nonya glared in anger. It was time to strike. Ego stepped forward and threw the pumpkin gourds at Nneka. "Garden egg, princess!" she yelled. Nothing happened. Nneka and Kamsi only stared at her in confusion. So did everyone. But Ngorzi knew what was happening. "Ego, please don't do this," she begged. Ego glared at her in fury and then recalled the exact words of the Forest Dibia. "You must call her the pumpkin girl. If not, the intervention won't work." "Pumpkin girl!" she screamed. Immediately, Nneka slumped to the ground. She turned into a pumpkin and vanished. Ngorzi screamed in anguish. Ego stared in shock. She didn't expect that to happen. There was commotion as Ego was immediately arrested for bewitching Nneka. Chuka snuck away from the scene before they could implicate him. Kamsi was devastated. The king was furious. He immediately sentenced Ego to death by stoning. But Ngorzi intervened before the guards could take her away. "Ego did not kill my daughter," Ngorzi said. "She only sent Nneka back to where she came from." Everyone looked at her in confusion. Just then, a thunderblast hit the palace, blowing up the place. The evil Dibia appeared raging with thunder. Ego stared at him in confusion. "Thank you, Ego, for taking away our obstacle. Now I can exact my revenge on this wretched village." He laughed again. "I now possess the powers of the spirit warriors," he thundered, as lightning bolts zapped from his body. Ego was scared. This is not what she wanted. "Why are you doing this?" she cried out. The scared king replied her instead. "He's Orzor, the evil Dibia, who was banished from this village. Your envious heart has set him free, and now we're all doomed." Ego could not believe her ears. Nonya was scared. "What have we done, mother?" As the Forest Dibia continued to wreak havoc on the kingdom, Kamsi tried to help some children to safety. While hiding behind a big tree, he sees the Dibia in red, who was trapped in a tree. "You!" Kamsi exclaimed. "I told you I'd come when you were in trouble," said the Dibia. "Please help us, the whole kingdom is being destroyed," Kamsi begged him. "Come with me, there's no time to waste," the Dibia in red said, and whoosh, they both disappeared. The swamps of Igodo on this day did not bubble with life when the two men appeared. Kamsi was shocked to be here. "What happened and where are we?" "We're at the swamps of Igodo," said the Dibia. "Welcome," said the spirit warrior of lightning. Kamsi was taken aback at his sight. "My brothers and I have been waiting for you," said the spirit warrior. The two men and the spirit sat down in the sacred garden as the spirit warrior recounted events to Kamsi. Orzor the evil Dibia was once the Dibia of Kamsi's village. He was a good man loved by everyone until the village was attacked by invaders. He lost his wife in the attack. He was so consumed by grief and revenge that he ventured into black magic. He wanted all the powers of Igodo to subdue his enemies. The villagers found out and banished him from the village before he could finish his ritual. "We gave Nneka to Ngorzi to restrain him from finishing his ritual," said the spirit warrior. "As long as Nneka was in the village, Orzor could not execute his plans," said the Dibia. "But Nneka is gone," Kamsi said with despair. "That is why you are here," said the spirit warrior. Kamsi was confused. Then the spirit warrior explained. After what Ego did, Nneka had returned to her origin, among the enchanted pumpkins. Kamsi would have to choose which one was Nneka. The problem was, all the pumpkins looked the same, and he could only choose once. Kamsi was overwhelmed. This was an impossible task. "Follow your heart, my son. This is your chance to bring back your love," the Dibia encouraged him. Kamsi closed his eyes. A memory came back to him. Damsels are picked, but the prince has made his choice. Opening his eyes, he went straight for a pumpkin. They put the pumpkin under a pile of leaves. "Now we wait," said the spirit warrior. "By the stroke of dawn, we'll know our fate." It was after dawn the next morning. Kamsi woke up with a start. He rushed to the pile of leaves where the Dibia waited. "Has she turned?" Kamsi asked in desperation. "You are the only one who can open it," said the Dibia nervously. Kamsi was nervous. It was just the two of them. Kamsi then scattered the leaves, but there was nothing beneath it. It can't be," said the Dibia in fear. Kamsi was devastated. "I chose the wrong pumpkin," Kamsi said, sitting on the ground. "Kamsi," a mellifluous voice called his name. Kamsi turned in haste, and there was Nneka, even looking more beautiful and radiant. Kamsi held her in his arms. He was happy, relieved, and grateful to see her alive again. "Stop crying, my love. What happened? What are we doing here?" Nneka asked Kamsi. "All will be revealed on our way back to the village." The Dibia cut in. "We must go at once!" The kingdom was still under attack when the Dibia teleported Kamsi and Nneka back. "Get to your father's compound and stand in the middle of it," the Dibia instructed Nneka. Nneka ran at the speed of light, dodging lightning as she went. The Forest Dibia saw her. "What?" he exclaimed in shock. "Impossible!" He sent a lightning bolt to Nneka, but the Dibia in red intercepted it. This infuriated the Forest Dibia. "All right then, I'll burn you all." He then produced fire, getting ready to rain it on the village. But Nneka was already in Okonkwo's compound. She dashed to the middle, and as soon as she set her feet there, all the thunderstorms ceased. The powers vanished from the Forest Dibia. He yelled in devastation. And immediately the spirit warrior seized him, this time for eternal banishment. The village lay in ruins as the people came out of hiding. Ngortsi was shocked to see Nneka. She rushed to hug her, crying tears of joy. "How is this even possible?" Ngortsi asked in tears. "I thought I'd lost you." The king came forward to thank Nneka. "You saved us all, my daughter," he said. "We are indebted to you." "No, my king," said Nneka. "This is my home too. I'll do anything to protect it." The king smiled. "Spoken like the true future queen of our kingdom." Kamsi smiled proudly. Nonya and Ego came forward full of remorse, begging Nneka for forgiveness. "Please forgive us. We did you wrong. We are sorry," Ego pleaded. Nneka forgave them, and Nonya, overwhelmed with emotions, embraced her sister. Many market days passed before the villagers were able to rebuild some of what was destroyed. However, today was not a day of rebuilding. It was a day of celebration in all the land. It was a special day. Nneka, the hero of the kingdom, was getting married to Prince Kamsi, the heir to the throne. It was a long-awaited event, and everyone rejoiced at the union. Everyone, including Ego and Nonya. As the celebrations continued, the Dibia in red stood by a tree, smiling contentedly. He transformed into the woman with long gray hair. She smiled and said, "Let the story continue."